The Portuguese Giants face elimination today. This Champions League season has been a huge disappointment for FC Porto. They've only managed 6 points in 5 games, and the only team they've beaten is Aalborg of Denmark. Today is Porto's last chance, but even with a win, they may or may not advance to the quarter-finals. It's next or nothing for Porto. They've got a corner here. What can they do with this? Too high for everybody. And Aalborg can bring this one out quite comfortably.
It amazes me sometimes, especially in the corner kicks, that you don't have anybody closing the side. And you know, for a set piece, obviously there's going to be challenge in the air, but you always have to have somebody on the second post. And in this case, Porto had nobody, and that's pretty. You know, everybody pretty much knows it's standard to have somebody there. So that's just lack of concentration, because I'm pretty sure Brian Robson in his pre-game talk talks about things like that.
Yes, it's an elementary thing, really, isn't it? That players should do, really, second nature. Another free kick for Porto. Porto getting plenty of possession, but finding it very hard to make that possession count. Certainly in going forward, so often now they're being forced across the width of the park.
Right, and Aalborg's just letting them do that. They're fine. They can have the ball here, but the problem is that Porto is not really making any runs, and they're just playing the same thing over and over. Try to find a target, they spread it out, and they're not doing anything different. So Aalborg is just letting them, you know, have the ball, and as soon as they can challenge, they go for it.
Emerson taking the free kick quickly. 25 minutes gone. Aalborg 1, Porto 0. As the ball's played down the flank on that far side. The fullback there stuck well to his task. Secretarios, the player who couldn't get away from Born Christensen, the Danish international. Now a throw for Aalborg. One of the oldest surviving clubs here in Denmark, if not in Europe. 110 years old. They originally founded, in fact, as a cricket club. That must tell you something, because it was a club that was actually founded by Danish and, of course, English migrants. That's the word cricket coming into their official title. And here come Aalborg. That's a good turn of pace. Grankiar was the player who was going, and he was stopped there in full flight by Zé Carlos. So the first yellow card in the 27th minute is the challenge.
As we see it here, very late tackle here. I think he just nipped the ball in front of him. He knew he was going to go by him, and it's a pretty late challenge. Rightfully so, yellow card, no doubt.
Yes, for Grankiar, who's just 18 years old. This is his first year in the senior squad. Under 18 international for Denmark. And he's got his side this free kick. What can they do with it? Just outside the penalty area, a one-man wall to the far post. Well, nobody there could really get a proper shot on target.
But as we said before, here Aalborg did something that that Porto didn't do on their corner kick. They had somebody far post, and it was very close.
If you're just joining us, it's match day 6 of the UEFA Champions League here on ESPN. We're coming to you from Aalborg in Denmark, and we've had just over 27 minutes, and Aalborg are leading through a goal from Erik Bo Andersen, scored in the 11th minute. And that would be quite a surprise to most people. Porto, of course, coming into this game knowing that they have to win. And away that time. And Porto finding it very difficult to break down this very well organised Aalborg defence.
main reason for that, I think, Mike, is that Porto is very predictable. They are being forced into the positional game, and they're just doing the same thing over and over. And without Domingos and the other forwards making some kind of runs off the ball, they're just not going to have a chance.
Some nice work there initially by Ed Milson for Porto. And they have now got themselves a free kick. The challenge there from Thompson, which was rather reckless there on Secretario. Set Piantek. Of course, the coach of the Danish side who had such an outstanding 1986 World Cup in Mexico when it was all talk of the world, Danish dynamite. As that header is cleared, and that shot is high, wide, and not very handsome. Vulovic, I think, was the player who came in there, the former Yugoslav international. And Bobby Robson will not be too impressed with shooting like that. In fact, it was so wide, it finished up as a throw-in. Farias with the throw. And the feet higher that time, which will result in a free kick now for Porto. Porto have been Portuguese league champions 14 times. Cup winners on 12 occasions. They've done the double just twice. That's when they've won the league and the cup in the same year, 1956 and again in 1988, as Alicio is the player who's going to be penalised. The referee there just chasing him away from any problems.
Porto showing some frustration. Right now, they're not looking like a team that needs to win this game.
Alicio, 11 caps for Brazil. As you said, he's showing his signs of frustration as that free kick is allowed to go right across the face of goal and nobody attacking the ball. Just over the 30-minute mark now in the first half. It's Aalborg 1, FC Porto 0. And this is Emerson. Well, Aalborg might not be pretty to watch, Janish, but they're certainly effective.
Very effective, and all the Danish teams are like that, with the exception of the team you've talked about in the World Cup in Mexico, where they really had some players with flair and they scored a lot of goals. But their main thing is discipline, and that's what they're showing today. They're very physical and tough in the air. And right now, they're, because Porto is so predictable, they're having really no problem. I really feel that if you ask the players from Aalborg, they're not really tired. They're not doing much work, and Porto is, not making them run. Emerson is the only player I can think of right now that's really trying to make something.
Well, Porto given possession in this part of the field, but it's about this stage now they start coming up against a red and white stripe wall. Usually that's the outcome, they lose possession. Nice nod down that time by Erik Bo Anderson, ready for somebody to make the run from midfield. Alicio, the most popular player here in northern Denmark at the moment. Jose Carlos. Now this time the ball's played behind the defence and the bounce away there from Paulinho. One would think, Janish, that a game like this would be ideal sort of game for somebody like Rui Barosh. I'm surprised that he's not in the starting lineup. He's actually starting on the bench, but they need somebody out there now, a player who can perhaps hold the ball and can do something a little bit different, because at the moment Porto are rather predictable.
Right, and he plays in a key position on this team, which is central midfielder, where he comes in with all his experience. He might be able to give him that sparks and make those passes and change the flow of the game. And obviously, as you said, he scored in this competition twice or three times, and they really need him, and that's a huge surprise.
Well, the ball there just getting away and then going loose. Bayer is the player who seems to have taken a knock then. The referee's having to step in very quickly. It's all getting rather ugly out there. Grankjaer is the player who's gone down after seemingly being hit. Rasmussen is also there. Erik Bo Anderson, the number 9, the goal scorer. Well, the ball came back to the goalkeeper. And I think the goalkeeper spilt it. And of course, if the goalkeeper hasn't got full control of the ball, you would expect the striker to go in on it.
Right.
That's exactly what happened.
Let's see what happens here. The ball got away a little bit, and Bahia just read it well and got there. And I think he has it, and it's really unfortunate and unnecessary for I think Anderson, that is, to do that. I mean, Bahia certainly has the ball.
Well, I think that when we see it, he has got the ball, but I think Anderson actually had stopped chasing the ball, but then it seemed must have come loose, because all of a sudden he then started to go for it again. It's on the blind side of our camera now.
If that's the case, you're right, but I don't know if necessarily he had to give those 3 or 4 kicks. At some point I got a feeling that Bahia had the ball, but obviously, as you said, we need to see that.
Well, there was a headbutt there, and I think Emerson was the player handing out the headbutt. Emerson goes in the referee's notebook. I think that was for headbutting. Certainly that replay certainly proved that he did use his head. So that's a yellow card. And yeah, now back on his feet. I think the goalkeeper must have spilled it, because Anderson had stopped challenging for the ball and then all of a sudden realised that the ball might have been loose.
Right, because you wouldn't really expect Anderson to start, to start kicking Bahia if he did, if he did have the ball.
Well, Peter Rasmussen, the other player involved in that headbutting incident, has also been given the yellow card. Confirmation of that. Referee stamping down quickly. So Porto, 2 yellow cards. Aalborg 1. It's on the yellow card scoreboard, but of course on the other scoreboard, the more important one, it's Aalborg 1, Porto 0.
And all that commotion, we do need to remember that was another great opportunity for Aalborg. Unfortunately, the ball got away a little bit too far. Otherwise, that would have been an easy goal.
Rasmussen, the 28-year-old Danish international. Such a strong and such a competitive player. And that was neat work at the back, and you can hear from the applause of the crowd how much they appreciated that. Now Aalborg on the break. Haven't quite got the pace that a lot of leading sides in Europe would have. But they employ a very patient build-up. Feet high that time. The referee, though, has allowed play to go on. This is Grankjaer. Grankjaer there just slipping as he tried to turn, losing out in the end. Now Emerson, he's got to be careful, he's already been booked.
As you said, they don't have the pace, but they certainly have enough space, and that's something that you wouldn't, I don't think Porto would like to do that if they could watch this game. They're giving up way too much space, considering that they're the ones that need to score.
Pensive look there from Bobby Robson, the coach at Porto, nearest the camera. And I think even at this stage, with around about 9 minutes to go to half-time, he's also already starting to think, what can he say to his players? Of course, Porto coming into this group, along with Nantes of France, the 2 seeded sides. Panathinaikos having to qualify, which they did by knocking out Hajduk Split, the quarter-finalists from last year's UEFA Champions League. And now, of course, they've already qualified for the quarter-finals. Nantes and Porto, the other 2 teams involved in this group, with a chance of making it through. I think when the draw was made, most people expected that Porto would qualify from this group in pretty much a cakewalk.
Surely, I mean, that's a huge disappointment for Porto fans. I mean, having so much success in Europe over the past few years. So when you looked at that group, obviously Panathinaikos is a very good team, and Nantes as well, but Porto, I thought they were going to be number 1 in the group with ease.
Throw goes to Porto. Edmilson. Now Pinto. Secretario. Cross for the ball, playing this one at the far post. And it was Edmilson who got above the defender, nodded it down, but safely there into the arms of Windu, the goalkeeper. Aalborg using pace this time on the break. And the ball just running out of play. It was Grankia. Certainly the 18-year-old has got a good turn of pace. The trouble is, if he'd have got past the defenders, then none of his teammates were able to keep up with him.
Right, but once again, he had so much space. I mean, he made a just 60, 70-yard run without being touched, and so that's something that Porto definitely needs to think over during the half. And as far as Robson talking to his team, I think he needs to play on their emotions a little bit and make them realize that, hey, listen, this is the last 45 minutes. You're losing. You need to win this game, and I'm sure they're going to see the score from halftime in the other game, and just they're going to have to make a mark here sometime.
Well, Porto now have been given this free kick. It's just outside the penalty area. There's just about 7 minutes to go to half-time. Jose Carlos is one of the players who is shaping up as if he's going to take this. Brazilian. Came here in 1989 from Flamengo. In fact, in the end, leaving it. It is a rehearsed move. And it wouldn't quite fall for Emerson, who came in from the far side. Nobody picked him up. But Aalborg there weren't too sure exactly what was going on.
No, that's a beautiful set piece, and it almost worked. But it's nice to see that Porto's trying something different rather than just taking a shot from 35 yards out.
Now the shot, the first one is closed down. The second one is just wide. Oh, what a good run that time. And it was Peter Rasmussen again using his strength. Denied once. And he wasn't too far wide that time.
No, it was very close, and there was actually 2 or 3 other guys around that goal that had a chance to score. So Porto needs to get back much faster, and once again, so much space for Aalborg.
So less than 5 minutes to go now to the half-time break. Aalborg 1, Porto 0. That was Ed Milton, showing too much of that. And one thing you can't do with Aalborg is give them an invitation to take the ball from you, because they will come straight in and they will take it. That time just drifting over the sideline. That's where Grankia unable to keep it in play. Sepinantek, the coach, veteran coach in fact, of Aalborg, 55 years old. Well, one must say he is still 7 years younger than his opposite number today, Bobby Robson. Like Robson, a former international. And of course, has also, like Robson, coached his own national team at one stage or another. Well, Emerson again involved. I think this time he's been given the free kick. Thompson is the player who has been penalised.
Very dangerous situations very late, and there's an opportunity for Porto. They just have to concentrate and really execute.
It's the Secretario. In fact, Drulovic is the player who's come across to take it. The goalkeeper there. There's a lot of traffic. An Aalborg player, in fact, is down inside the penalty area. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Well, there's the fist away. It just seemed that somebody must have got knocked on the run through.
It was really hard to tell how it happened. At first I thought maybe the goalkeeper, but it seemed to happen really on the far end. So I'm not really sure what happened, but Aalborg is definitely talking to the referee about it.
Rashinescu there, the referee, insisting that the free kick is taken from the correct area. Lucio still getting the boos from the crowd after that earlier challenge, which he wasn't booked. Now Porto. Emerson makes the run through, and then Wilson there just tries to pick him up. Also would love to score just before the half-time break. We've had plenty of possession in this first half. Really, they haven't created any clear-cut chances. In fact, it's Aalborg who have looked the most liable to add to that one goal they've already scored.
Right, and it's so easy to sit here and talk about what's wrong with Porto and how come they're not doing these things. But I think the main reason and what's happening out there now is that as soon as Porto loses the ball, they're not getting it back. They're not fighting to get it back right away. Where on the other hand, Aalborg is very aggressive. When they lose the ball, they get back and go right after the ball. Whatever. Not necessarily in their third of the field. Even if it's in the middle, they're really strong on their tackles and they're trying to get the ball right back. And I think you create a lot of chances on turnovers, and Porto's not doing that.
Well, certainly the home supporters who were thrilled just to be in the UEFA Champions League. And of course, they saw their team overcome Panathinaikos here. A memorable victory, and that was back on the 25th of October. So yes, the captain playing that long. By ear there, having to react quickly, the Porto goalkeeper.
Emerson is the only player on Porto's side that's really trying to work, and not only when he has the ball, but without the ball, he's showing all over the place. Unfortunately, he's the only one that seems, you know, that wants to play.
Secretario takes a throw as we come up towards the 45-minute period. Maybe a few seconds or so to be added on for stoppage time, but there hasn't been too many stoppages. All eyes on Crăciunescu, the referee from Romania. Pinto to take the free kick. Secretario. Paulinho getting this one in. Nilsson again unable to get the shot on. He was just quickly closed down. Aalborg not afraid to throw bodies in front of the ball. No thought of self-preservation. As the ball is out of play on the far side, it will be a throw. Another check of the watch from our Romanian referee. Coming up towards 60 seconds of stoppage time has been played. Ed Nilsson trying to lay that one back, and again, desperate defending. Another throw for Porto as the half-time whistle goes. Cheers all around the Aalborg Stadium, because it's Aalborg who lead at the half-time break. The goal scorer, Erik Bo Anderson, in the 11th minute. That's his third goal in the UEFA Champions League. Porto, though, have got it all to do now in the second half. Really, the next 45 minutes will decide whether they will be in the UEFA Champions League at the quarter-final stage. Stay with us, though, because coming up at half-time, we'll have a look back at this year through the eyes of Ajax. We'll also have a look at first half highlights. At half-time, Aalborg 1, Porto 0. We'll be back after this break.
There were crayons, then there were markers, and now there's Marcosa. Introducing Marcosa Color Transformers, the hot new hyper bright markers that change.
This game coming to you from Group A. Well, this is the second meeting between these two sides in the UEFA Champions League. Of course, they met earlier on match day 2. Porto run out winners then by 2-0. Rui Barros scoring twice, and I suppose the biggest surprise that he starts tonight on the bench.
And that's what we were saying. Certainly when you play against a team like Aalborg and you have Rui Barros score 2 goals against him, you would think that, you know, the player would start. We don't exactly know what happened, but I think if he's healthy, he should have been playing.
You can see there, all Porto dominated that game completely. It was the only one, in fact, because it's been a disappointing Champions League season so far for Porto. That was their only win They've drawn 3 of their games, but that home loss to Panathinaikos really has been the result that's devastated them.
And I think the inability to score for Porto was the main key, because as you said, defensively they're very sound. They have Victor Bahia in the goal, arguably the best goalkeeper in Europe right now, very hot for the Portuguese national team. So as soon as they start scoring, I think they're going to have some success.
Picture of Eric Bo Anderson, the player whose goal separates these two sides, scoring after just 11 minutes. The teams are out, and you can have a look now at the first half statistics, and Porto, they kept most of the possession.
That's why you can never trust these statistics, because obviously Porto had so much of the ball, but really they were very ineffective and nothing came out of it. Maybe one half chance for Porto, where Aalborg, I thought it was great defensively and great on counters.
Yes, the statistics there don't really tell the whole story. And just before we get to the kickoff of the second half, let's have a quick look back at the keys to victory, Janis. Firstly, Aalborg certainly are playing for pride, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just for pride, but they're just playing well. They're playing good football, and that's why they're ahead. As far as the home conditions, I'm not too sure about that. It might be affecting Porto, but I'm not positive.
Now, FC Porto, we said they must take the initiative. They haven't been allowed to, have they?
They have not. Aalborg's playing sound defensive game, and they're giving him the middle of the field, but they're not really doing anything. And as far as Domingos, he really hasn't shown us anything.
You're watching ESPN. It's match day 6 of the UEFA Champions League. This game from Group A. Aalborg against Porto. Aalborg in the red and white, Porto in the blue and white. Aalborg leading by 1-0 as Porto get the second half underway. Now attacking the goal to our left. And remembering, Porto have to win here, and they've got a hope that results in France also will favour them. The other game in this group, Nantes against Panathinaikos. Panathinaikos have already qualified, but a victory for Panathinaikos would see Porto go through if Porto can win here. There's a lot of ifs and buts about this group today, but Porto know that firstly they've got to win here, and then let's hope that everything else takes care of itself. Aalborg though have different ideas.
I don't think Porto needs to be worried about what's happening in France right now. As you said, they just need to go out here and score some goals, because obviously they have to win.
This is Domingos. Rui George. George again. Aalborg, as they did in the first half, they get players behind the ball quickly. They're making it very difficult for Porto. Also getting plenty of possession in this area of the field. That's what those first half statistics indicated. The trouble is, with all that possession, it's not good possession in an area that's going to do danger. Aalborg again quickly in with the intercept. I suppose, Janis, that's where statistics really do lie, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah,
Porto had all the possession, but really they didn't have any quality possession.
That's right, and the biggest problem was that obviously Aalborg's letting Porto do their thing, but unfortunately the forwards for Porto are not making any runs. They're not making the Aalborg defenders run. So they're basically just standing and shadowing their forwards, and that's pretty easy. Once you start making those crisscrossing runs, that's what makes it hard.
Well, Porto have been given a free kick. Aalborg have pulled everybody back. Don't forget, Porto have got a couple of Brazilians in their side. Alicio, the number 4. Also Emerson, the number 6. Secretario and Drulovic also good at free kicks, as that one though is a little bit too high. And so many players making a run at the ball. I'm not sure if they confused the goalkeeper, but they did confuse the commentators.
It's a well-struck ball, but I feel it's very far away. I mean, this must have been 30-35 yards, and it's pretty predictable. I mean, the goalkeeper saw it all the way. Nevertheless, a decent chance.
And that's what it was Drulovic in the end who took responsibility for that shot. Scored on match day 5. Bo Anderson, who's battled away as the Lone Ranger up front for Aalborg. Scored their goal. Although he makes himself a very, very good target man. He's not afraid to chase back and work hard as well. A team player in every sense of the word. Ed Nielsen. Cross there was half charge down. Jensen there trying to stop it going out for a corner. Lars Winger, the young goalkeeper, celebrated his 20th birthday last Sunday. His first appearance in the UEFA Champions League. As the referee has found an infringement. And Ed Nielsen, who has had a frustrating evening. Brazilian-born, used to play for Nacional of Madeira. And he's adjudged to have been doing some pushing that time.
Winder, the Aalborg goalkeeper, really having an easy day today. I haven't really faced that many shots. I can't think of really a one that he had to handle. So, but sometimes, you know, you have to be careful. You want to stay concentrated in the game and warm, because you never know, things might change very quickly.
Yes, he hasn't been called on to make a save that I can remember. Here come Aalborg. The ball breaks this time. This is Ed Nielsen, skipping away from one challenge. Needs some help. This is Paulinho. Porto this second half coming out with a 5-man midfield now. They've not changed personnel, but they have changed their tactical formation slightly, as Emerson is there with the intercept. And of course, Bobby Robson, the Porto coach, has got to take a few risks now. Porto have got to win, as we keep saying. The draw might look nice in the record books, but it's not going to do them any good in this competition. Only a win can give them any chance of survival. But Aalborg have got different intentions. They've done well here in Aalborg in this competition. They've beaten Panathinaikos. Although they were beaten 2-0 by the French champions, they were far from disgraced. So Carlos was the player who came across that time. Peter Rasmussen, who has really proved to be a handful. Piantek. Certainly got this Aalborg side very, very well organised. Ed Nielsen.
Porto really, it doesn't seem like they know what to do, because obviously there's a plan that they're trying to follow, but if the plan doesn't work out, it's up to the players to change things. I mean, the coach can only say so much, but on the field you have to resolve those problems, and it doesn't seem like Porto is trying or willing to do it. I'm sure they're trying, but I think it's not working. I haven't really seen Dominguez or even Emerson taking players on.
Yeah, the shot coming in. At the time it was too high. I suppose at this stage it's well worth the effort from way outside the penalty area.
It is, but those are those low percentage shots, you know, taken from 30, 35 yards. Of course, we've seen goals happen like that, but I don't think it's going to happen here from this far away.
Well, it was Paulinho who had the shot, and now Porto are making their first change. And not surprisingly, Rui Barros is coming on. João Pinto is the player that's gone off. So the veteran captain, 34 years old, is replaced now by Rui Barros. No youngster himself, in fact, at 30 years old. Scored twice, though, in this tournament. He is Porto's leading goal scorer. A star, of course, not only here in Portugal, but also, of course, with Juventus and Olympique Marseille in France. He's won championships with both of those clubs. And how they could do now with his guile and his goal-scoring ability. And he's got plenty of time. Some 38 minutes to make the impression that Bobby Robson wants.
Not only that, but he's, you know, he obviously can score, but I think I look for Baros to create some chances here and give him that spark. I think he's still pretty quick. You know, his first 2 or 3 yards are pretty quick, and he likes to play those 1-2 plays, and I think he's going to help. You know, we both thought that he should be starting, so let's see if he can change this team.
He came back to Porto last year after his successful spells abroad. But he's just the type of player that might be able to unlock this Aalborg defence, because he is a player that can do the unexpected.
Surely, and I mean, if you're going to try to change something now, it's about time, because Porto really came out for the second half pretty much in the same fashion as they did the whole first half. So nothing's changing. They still have the possession, but they're not creating anything.
Well, perhaps now with the possession and Rui Baros on there pulling the strings, they just might be able to make things happen. But this is Rui George. Rui Baros there trying to get on the end of that pass, taking the throw in quickly and winning a corner. Out of play there by Christensen. As Windu there, the young goalkeeper organises defence as this corner comes into the near post, easily away. And the ball spread wide. Time to measure the cross. Too close to the goalkeeper. He hasn't had too much to do tonight, and if he keeps getting shots like that, I'm sure he'll be quite happy.
I'm sure he won't mind. I mean, that's basically...
Well, whenever you praise a goalkeeper or any player, we really are like the kiss of death, aren't we? I mean, he's looked so assured, and then all of a sudden, an elementary error. It was charged down, and it could have gone anywhere. He could have been really embarrassed. As it was, the ball went out of play in the end for a throw. Could have easily finished gone up in the back of the net.
Right, spoken too soon. That's what we've talked about, the concentration and trying to stay in the game mentally. When you don't have too much work, you tend to wonder sometimes and think ahead or whatever. So he just needs to concentrate on what's happening.
Throw there from Paulinho, looked like a foul throw. Referees didn't say anything wrong with it. Aalborg 1, Porto 0. Just over 55 minutes played. And now Aalborg on the break. And although they defend well in numbers, Grankjaer now has 4 red and white striped shirts waiting in the penalty area if he could have got the ball across. And one thing you have to say, the fitness of this Aalborg side, they might not all be fully professional. A lot of them, in fact, are part-time players, but their fitness level is outstanding.
Surely, they're very hard workers, and you have to say something about Sepp Piontek. I mean, he's a great coach, a lot of experience being in Turkey with Denmark, and he knows what it takes to be in this type of competition. So I'm sure he makes him work really hard.
Julovic. There's a lot of space on that far side for Secretario. So he swings this one in. And again, met there by a wall of red and white striped shirts. This is Rui George. Gets the return ball. Tries the shot. Always rising. Rui George, who is part of the youth system here at Porto. He just tried to drill that one from just outside the penalty area. Always rising. Alicio there with some nice skill at the back. Not really appreciated by the Aalborg crowd. Both him and Emerson, the player on the ball. Not the crowd's favourites tonight. These are earlier instances. So again, having that interception to perfection. Rui George, now Emerson. Just better from Porto. The passes are finding their man. At least now they're making progress. This is Emerson. Well, he made that couple of yards that he wanted for space. I think he was trying to curl that in the top corner, but it was way off target in the end.
It surely was, and this is about the fourth or fifth shot this half that they took from the outside, and you know, one might think, well, they're trying to shoot, it's good, but I think it's also frustration because they can't get through the defense. It almost seems like Aalborg's playing zone. They're not even playing man-to-man, and they can't penetrate that, so they try to shoot. And I think the only way they can try to penetrate is try to pick one guy. Guys like Emerson or Domingos maybe go at him, try to take him on. If you go by him, fine. If not, you might get a free kick that's very close to the goal.
Now Rui Baroš. Still Rui Baroš is being forced wide. He lets the ball run out of play. And Porto have a corner. Well, Rui Baroš can't believe it. Oh, and the referee's going to book him. Well, if there is one complaint about this referee from Romania, Crăciunescu, is that he often does give out silly yellow cards. Rui Baroš there was convinced that that was going to be a corner.
I'm not really sure why he got the yellow card. Is it for hitting the Aalborg player or throwing the ball away? But I'm not, because he didn't seem to argue really.
Well, this is the referee who actually booked Marcel Desailly of AC Milan last year when somebody trod on his foot and he went down, and he booked him for time wasting. I think that was the game where he gave about 8 players from AC Milan yellow cards. He has that reputation, and that really was a good example of rather a petty yellow card. And here come Porto. Forward that time by Secretario. Ed Milton bundled down from behind. Well, referees have been given a directive. They've got to stamp out the tackle from behind. There we saw a perfect example of the tackle from behind going through the player, and there's no yellow card. Yeah, seconds earlier, a player gets booked when he thinks he's got a corner, and all he's doing is walking over there with the ball.
Exactly. They're very inconsistent sometimes, and of course it's very easy to talk about this from here, but that was an obvious, they're trying to crack down on the tackles from behind, and you know, I don't want to say it was deliberate, but it was pretty bad foul, and yet nothing was given for it.
Rui George that time penalised for the challenge on Erik Bo Anderson. Carly Fazos, the captain of Aalborg, taking the free kick. So it's played into space. And Rasmussen, for a big man, Rasmussen, he's got a good turn of pace, hasn't he?
Yeah, he sure does, and he's been the one creating a lot of opportunities for Aalborg, and he's pretty quick, and he can score a lot of goals here.
Danish international had a spell at Stuttgart in Germany. Erik Bo Anderson still full of running. Now Emerson stepping in there quickly. Good turn of pace takes him away there from Thomas Berg. Still Emerson trying to go all the way on his own. There wasn't too many people making themselves available for him, were there?
No, not really, but I think it was a little bit selfish because I think I saw somebody right on the right-hand side, but I think he had his head down and he was just going for it. At least he tried. I mean, he's one of the very few Porto players that seems to be around the ball, a lot, and I'm not trying to say that they're not trying, but they're very ineffective, and he's the only one trying to change things.
Here come Porto. And Aalborg just faster to the ball at the moment. Look, the hunger of the sides. Here's Emerson. Now Rui Baroš. Rui George. Aalborg again, that wall of red and white striped shirts, just blocking the way forward. Brulovic. Now stepping away from that challenge, here's a great opportunity. And the back heel, not enough on it. Emerson now floating this one in. And Emerson, and it's gone in. Well, Ed Milson was the player who made a run across goal, but I don't think he got a touch. And Emerson in the 63rd minute, out of absolutely nothing, has brought Porto back into this game, and I don't think Bobby Robson can believe it either.
I don't think so. I think Aalborg players thought it was an offside. This was definitely a cross, and the ball was never touched. Just let it go, and Emerson scores a goal.
For Emerson, that's his first goal in the UEFA Champions League. Ed Milson was the player who came running in, but he failed to get a touch. Perhaps that might have been a good thing, because if he had done, he could have judged to have been interfering with play. He may have been offside. It's brought us a scoreline now of Aalborg 1, Porto 1. And is there still life now for Porto? Drulovic trying to get that one across. He's won a corner. We've often seen a goal make a complete change in a game, and perhaps that goal now could just wake Porto up. This corner comes across, it's off the woodwork, and Emerson again climbing for that corner. He scored once, so close there to add into the total just 60 seconds later. Another corner now to the near post, easily away this time. Then the shot. And Rui Baros, in fact it was Drulovic, ball came to him quickly. And I don't think he was in an offside position, but Emerson there, so close with this header.
Obviously beautiful cross and beautiful header. Emerson is really feeling the game. Not that he scored that goal, that brought him back, gave him a little bit of life, and just as you said, the woodwork helps him.
Well, 64 minutes gone. And no foul, says the referee.
It's amazing how you try many different things during the game. Nothing absolutely works for you, and then you get a fluke goal like that. Because really, as you said, I mean, if Edmilson touches that ball, I don't think there's a chance this ball is going anywhere. So he just lets it go, and the goalkeeper didn't anticipate it. And now we have a tight score.
Well, I don't know if he let it go. He just couldn't get a touch on him. Bobby Robson now looks a lot better. I mean, a few minutes earlier, we had seen a shot of him, and he looked completely oblivious to what was going on. I think he'd given up hope. It was going to be one of those nights. All of a sudden, there is some colour back in the cheeks. He's back on his feet. Perhaps there is a way still for Porto to make it through to the quarter-finals. Aalborg going to make a substitution. The Mitzliv is the player who's coming on, and surprisingly, Peter Rasmussen is the player that's gone on or gone off, and that really is a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Because for my money, he's been the outstanding player for Aalborg in this game.
Right, he has been their best player and created many chances for him, so I'm not sure why he's coming off. Perhaps he has a little injury or he's not feeling well, but I mean, he didn't seem like he was injured.
He was moving very freely, but Torben Hermitzliv is the player that's come on, a 24-year-old, and he was a new sign-in this season. If you're just joining us here on ESPN, along with Janusz Mahalik, I'm Mike Hill. It's match day 6 of the UEFA Champions League. We're coming to you from the Aalborg Stadium, Aalborg in Denmark. A game from Group A, and it's Aalborg 1, Porto 1. Anderson scoring for Aalborg after 11 minutes, and then Emerson equalising for Porto in the 63rd minute. It's a game that Porto have to win and hope that results in other places go their way. That goal may just give them the lifeline that they need. But Janusz, Aalborg, a team with nothing to play for, only pride, but they are really playing with pride. They've got the home crowd behind them.
Right, and hopefully they won't change their strategy just because it's 1-1. They have been playing pretty much the same game, although I don't think they attack as much as they did in the first half. And obviously leading 1-0, they were careful, and maybe they wanted to hold on to the score. But now the situation is a little bit different, and you know, if they're going to play for pride, they should play to win.
Piątek. Often around the world, he's referred to as a bit of a miracle worker. That's certainly what he's done with Aalborg since he's taken over. He would come into that category. He joined Aalborg in 1993. He won the national championship for the first time under his coaching. And here they are in the UEFA Champions League. As we're getting a substitution, and Rui Jorge has gone off. And I think the player who's come on is the number 16, Folha. Folha, the Portuguese international, who is an attacker, has come on to replace Rui Jorge, who is a defender. So that substitution perhaps tells us something, Janis, that Bobby Robson is going to go for broke.
Right, obviously, and you know, we've talked about Rui Barros not playing, and he's another guy that you know, maybe should have started. Foley had a great game against Ireland in their last qualifying match for Portugal. Obviously, an international with a lot of experience and an attacker. So we'll see. Obviously, Robson had his reasons, but we'll see what he can bring to this team.
There's a lot more commitment now about Porto going forward than we saw in the first half. But Aalborg, though, a very resolute side. Here, breaking forward through Erik Bo Anderson. The goal scorer cutting this one back, and it's scribbled over the line. And it's Madsen. Oh, Vidabaya, the goalkeeper, got his hands to it, but just could not keep it out. And Jens Madsen gets his second goal in the UEFA Champions League.
Great work by Anderson on the wing, and sort of Madsen sort of had the similar situation in the first half, actually in the first 5 minutes where he missed it. This time he concentrated a little bit, and Bayek just couldn't get it. Actually, he got a piece of it, but he couldn't hold on to it.
Yes, it just crawls over the line. Erik Bo Anderson had a big hand in that goal. It was he who set it up for Jens Madsen to get his second goal in the UEFA Champions League. And we've had 68 minutes, and it's now Aalborg 2, Porto 1. And just hark at the crowd here in Aalborg. 2-1 ahead against one of the giants of European football as Domingos tries the shot. And I think that's the first shot he's managed in the whole game, and that's not going to beat a goalkeeper of quality.
It's not, and what a turn of events. Porto just coming back, tying the game, getting a little bit of confidence and hope that they can win this game. And really, Bo Anderson just took the right fullback on and pretty much did whatever he wanted with him. And Madsen this time concentrated. I'm sure you remember the situation from the first half, just identical.
Yes, in the first half he missed it completely. He got it all right that time though. And that forlorn look there back on the face of Bobby Robson.
Couldn't really blame Bahia. He made a great save just to get to it.
This is Paulinho. Rui Barros. Keep prompting from midfield, trying to find the keys to open up this Aalborg defence as this one is played over. And Lars Winder again, the goalkeeper, covered himself with glory that time as he came out quickly. And somehow was able to bat the ball down. And certainly the 20-year-old goalkeeper hasn't let the team down.
Actually read the situation pretty well, and his timing was right too. He just came out just as the ball was released. If he was a little bit late, that ball would have been lobbed right over him.
Paulinho. Porto now starting to having to in fact throw caution to the wind. They're losing 2-1. It really makes very little difference now if they lose 3-1, 4-1 or 5-1, but they've got to take the risk as Grankjaer goes down. The under-18 international, only 18 years old. This is his first year in the senior squad. And what a good player he looks as well. Slowly back to his feet. I'm just wondering how long he'll be able to last, because it does seem quite a bad case of cramps at the moment. And now Porto have a free kick. Folha is the number 16, Domingos the number 9. Both of those can take free kicks. I'm surprised that Emerson or Lucio, the two Brazilians, aren't there. Folha laying it back. Domingos! I think he must wear different boots when he plays in the Champions League to what he does when he plays in the Portuguese domestic league. still looking for his first Champions League goal.
Yeah, he's been struggling a little bit, but I think this is an early situation when Winde came out and the timing was so right. Very dangerous situation, but going back to Domingos, he's having a hard time, but I think that set piece was read pretty well as one of the defenders came out and pressured the ball, and really he couldn't do anything.
Here come Aalborg. For Aalborg to be in the Champions League, everybody associated around the town so thrilled at that. He's having beaten Panathinaikos and nearly declared a public holiday in the town. Here comes Emerson. Gets the return there from Rui Baros. And compromise the defence again. This time the ball is played through. Aalborg strong at the back. Now here's Emerson, scored the only goal for Porto. Rui Baros playing it inside. Edmilson, ball coming back and loose. The red and white shirt gets there first. This really has been the story of the night. And Porto now making a substitution. And João Pinto, the younger, comes on, and Zé Carlos is the player that goes off. So the last throw of the dice now for Bobby Robson. The substitution being made in the 73rd minute.
Obviously Robson just throwing another forward into the action, just hoping that they can change things. It's kind of late. You know, defensively they haven't been playing that well today, Porto, which they're normally known for. They're very sound defensively. So, I mean, if he's doing that now, why not do it at halftime and throw, you know, two guys or whatever? It's now that you're down 2-1, obviously you have to do it. You're forced to do it, but I wish he'd done that at halftime.
Rui Baros still prompts him from midfield. Certainly has given Porto a different shape since he came on. Emerson plays a 1-2, goes for the return. Here's Emerson flicking it over the goalkeeper and into the back of the net, and Emerson has got his second goal coming in the 75th minute, and Porto are back on level terms. It's 2-2, and Emerson, who started the move, is the player who finishes it.
Right, a player of the match, a great 1-2, just finishes his run and just plays it. This time, Winde came out, he had a similar situation a few minutes ago, but he mistimed it, and a clinical finish for Emerson, and he's definitely player of the match.
Yes, there was enough legs on that to take it over the goal line, and Emerson scores his second goal of the night. And Porto now are back on level terms. It's Aalborg 2, FC Porto 2. And one wonders if Porto's chances of qualification in the UEFA Champions League are still alive. They've got to win, as this one is headed through. And a heavy challenge that time on Domingos. And Grenkiar was the player who went in.
That's a pretty late tackle, obviously a foul, but I think Porto's not really doing anything different than they were doing in the first half or even the second half. I just think that Aalborg is given are not marking as well as they did, and obviously I like the way Aalborg has played the whole game, but right now they need to concentrate. They need to go back to the basics, and I don't think Aalborg is just playing as well, but I still think that it's their game to lose.
Well, Grenkiar there was actually given the yellow card for that challenge on Domingos. Confirmation of that. So Grenkiar, who has worked so hard, the 20-year-old, he really has been such an impressive player tonight. In fact, only 18, not 20. Member of the Danish youth side. Oh, the crowd here tonight really enjoying it. There's brave people, they're hardy people up here to come out on a bitterly cold night. As that one is hooked away. It was Domingos who seems to pull away now from that centre forward channel. He's playing wider, and all of a sudden he's got more time and more space.
I think so, and maybe Robson has said something jobs, you know, to tell him and pulled him back a little bit, because obviously he saw he wasn't working, so he changed things around. And especially with, you know, he inserted 2 forwards in the second half, so things had to change.
Grenkiar is the player who's coming off, and I think he might be suffering from a bit of cramps. And Helody Nilsson, a 19-year-old, is the player who comes on. So Sepp Piontek taking the opportunity now to blood some youngsters into top-class European competition. They don't come much bigger than UEFA Champions League. Porto with a corner, fisted away there by Winger. Corner comes across again, this time to the far post, and the goalkeeper comes out positively, takes that one. And for the defenders to see a goalkeeper come out with that much confidence really makes everybody feel good in a team.
Yeah, that is very important, especially in a second half like this where they're getting tired and not so sure if they can judge the ball well. And, you know, to have a goalkeeper come out and really with ease get the ball, it makes them feel that much more confident.
Emerson playing that one through. Aalborg. And just the ball just running away there from Helody Nilsson. Throw taken. Too quickly, says the referee. And from the wrong spot, so the throw now goes to Aalborg.
One thing about Porto is we've been saying how really, maybe not bad they were playing, but things didn't work out for him. But you also have to say that they're the champion, and even though they were down twice, they're coming back, and you can never count them out. They're a classy club. Obviously, they've proved it over the years, and you know they're tied 2-2, and there's still time to win this game.
Aalborg, of course, from Denmark, the home of Hans Christian Andersen. Well, we're going to get a fairy tale finish here for the team from Aalborg. Situated in the northern area of Denmark, in northern Jutland. Aalborg has a population of 160,000, as we see that shot troubling the goalkeeper. 4th largest city, 3rd largest seaport in Denmark. We come up towards the final 10 minutes. Emerson with 2 goals for Porto. Erik Bo Andersen and Madsen, the goal scorers for Aalborg. It's 2-2. Porto have to win.
One thing you mentioned earlier is that fitness-wise, I think there's a huge difference here. Obviously, Porto, much fitter team. Some of the players in Aalborg are getting cramps, and they're not used to the sort of competition that Portuguese teams have. So this plays a big role, and you can almost see it where Porto is just still a much fresher team.
Well, a lot of the European nations, especially the northern European nations, are already on their winter break. As the goalkeeper there, slight case of misjudgment. He had to rectify the situation quickly. He was bundled down by a combination of Pinto and also Domingos.
Yeah, I think he came out a little bit too early, but he recovered nicely and a little bit of a push.
Still managed to hold on to the ball, though. That's so important.
Right.
You're never quite sure if the referee in those situations is going to rule in your favour or not. Yes, as I was saying, a lot of the northern European countries now, their season is finished. Sweden, Finland, they've all finished their seasons. Here in Denmark, the domestic season is now finished. They finished a couple of weeks ago in the Soviet Union and in Poland. So, of course, these Aalborg players not used to regular club competition. In fact, they haven't played since they played in the last UEFA Champions League game, and that was a couple of weeks ago against Panathinaikos. So that really must be a test in time now, as Jari Pedersen is the player who's going to come on, the number 13, and Madsen, whose second goal, or whose goal, the second, brought Aalborg into the lead. Jari Pedersen, another 19-year-old, comes on. You said it wasn't a young man's game, Janish.
Right. There's still hope for me.
Throw now for Porto. They have to win. We keep saying that, but it's so important that they have to win this game. They really can't worry about what is going on in France at the moment. If they do their job, they've got to win. But at the moment, they're only drawing. Whatever the result happens in France, then it's still not going to do Porto any good whatsoever. Only a win can help them.
Right, and now's the time they show some urgency. They have played a little bit better since they scored the second goal, but Aalborg still somewhat controlling the game, although they are getting tired, but there's not much time left. With 8 or 10 minutes left, Porto needs to take some chances, perhaps even open in the back a little bit and send some more people up front.
And Milton that time with the shot going wide. As we look at this shot from Ed Milton. Let's just have a look at how the quarterfinals are going to shape up. The winner of Group A will take on the team who finished second in Group B. And the winner of Group B, which we already know going into match day 6, is Spartak of Moscow. They will take on the team who finished second in Group A, which is this group, of course. So first and second place in Group A very much up for grabs. Panathinaikos are short of one of those two spots. But of course, if they win today, they will finish as top of the group. And if Porto were to win, they would finish second. But if Porto don't win, they're going to finish third, whatever happens. So you can see how vital the next 6 minutes or so is for Porto. They got through the third round of the Portuguese Cup at the weekend rather easily. They are top in Portugal, but this is the competition that they want. They won this tournament back in 1987. They beat Bayern Munich in the final. They went on to become the World Club Champions. Messi left with a cross, and Bahia takes it rather comfortably.
As you said, Porto will be happy to finish second, but there is some incentive for Panathinaikos to win in France, because obviously the first team in that group, which Panathinaikos could be, is going to avoid Spartak Moscow, and as we know, Spartak Moscow up until tonight so far has a 100% record and has been winning against everybody. A very good team that even in March when they play quarterfinals is going to be pretty cold up in Moscow, and nobody wants to play up there.
Yes, Spartak Moscow coming into match day 6 with a 100% record. And there was a mix-up at the back that time by Aalborg, as the ball comes across the goalkeeper there in no man's land. And Pinto there just able to get enough momentum on that header to get it over the goal line. But that's a danger signal for Aalborg, as we're now into the final 5 minutes. Aalborg 2, Porto 2. Aalborg, who have never been in the European Cup or the UEFA Champions League before, drawing here 2-2, and if that shot had been on target, they would have been ahead. Really? The goalkeeper there caught out of position. That was a cheeky try. Both
goalkeepers a little bit shaky at the end. We saw Wende coming out and really not getting anything. And obviously, when you come out of goal, you got to make sure you get the ball and clear it. Same with Bahia. Really came out, but didn't clear the ball well, and could have cost him a goal.
Ball floated in again. A lot of red and white shirts back there, but it was nearly a case there of too many cooks spoiling the broth. They were all getting each other's way. Frustrated look there from Alocio. And Victor Bahia knows that he will look back on one of this game as perhaps not one of his better games. Sepp Piatek, I'm sure, will say that he's very proud of the way his team has battled. He also knows that they've done enough in this game to have actually won it. And as he was saying before the game, the Champions League is all part of the learning process for these players who basically are part-time players, up against, as they are tonight, some of the highly paid professionals of European football. Challenge coming in that time from Secretario.
It's really a different game, and the way they were brought into this Champions League was difficult for them too. Maybe not much preparation. They sort of had to walk into it and play some games right away against Panathinaikos, and within 3 or 4 days they had to play 2 games. So it's definitely difficult, and they're not a powerhouse yet, but I think it's going to pay dividends for this Aalborg team in the future.
Well, certainly that win over Panathinaikos has gone down in Danish folklore. If they could actually take the scalp of Porto, well, even Hans Christian Andersen there would have a rival in this country. Actually, for fairy tales. Certainly they've done enough in this game to have won it. But they have been punished for a couple of rather slack defensive errors.
Very impressive performance from Aalborg overall. They were ahead twice. Some mental mistakes cost him 2 goals, and I think actually fitness and fatigue, especially in the second goal, because they were pretty sound defensively. And the run by Emerson, that he almost played it to himself, was, you know, everybody saw that, but yet nobody covered. So sometimes that's, you know, fatigue settles in. But other than that, Aalborg very impressive in this game. You have to remember they're playing as Porto. That's a great team.
Ball floated in. Again, a strong defensive effort at the back from Jensen. And Aalborg at this stage just settling to get it away from the danger area. Erik Bo Andersen, who has fought a lonely battle up front and is still fighting it for Aalborg. It was his goal that gave them a lead after 11 minutes. Whistles all around the Aalborg stadium trying to encourage the referee, Krashenascu from Romania, to blow the final whistle. I think a lot of these Aalborg supporters will be more than happy to settle for a draw against one of the giants of European football. Certainly looking at their performance tonight, Sepp Piątek, the coach at Aalborg, certainly has something to build on for the future. We remember how he developed that marvellous side in the 1986 World Cup. It was Danish dynamite, and perhaps now he's going to put together a team at club level that will emulate those. Into the closing seconds, Aalborg 2, Porto 2. And Porto now only seconds away, surely, from elimination from the UEFA Champions League this year. One of the favourites, the seeded side in Group A. And now, unless something happens from this corner, it looks like they will not qualify for the quarter-finals. This really is the final opportunity. We're into stoppage time, and the referee has found some pushing. A free kick to Aalborg, and they'll be in no hurry to take this. Indications there, some of the Aalborg players asking the referee how much or time to be played. Well, what a night it has been for Aalborg. Winder there with the goal kick. As the final whistle goes, and Porto are eliminated. One of the seeded teams from Group A go out. Erik Bo Andersen opened the scoring in the 11th minute. Porto came back with a goal from Emerson, and then Madsen in the 69th minute gave the Danish champions a 2-1 lead. Emerson hit 15 minutes from the end to give Porto a ray of hope, but it wasn't to be. The winners in 1987, Porto, are eliminated, and Aalborg, well, they can be proud of their performance here tonight as they finish up with a 2-2 draw. Well, we've got more great action coming up from the UEFA Champions League here on Saturday. Legia Warsaw taking on Spartak Moscow from Group B. Spartak Moscow, the side with a 100% record, and Legia Warsaw desperately needing something out of this game if they are to qualify. But tonight, though, it was a night that belonged to the Danish champions. Erik Bo Andersen set them on their way. In the end, it finished Aalborg 2, Porto 2. On behalf of Janis Mihalik, I'm Mike Hill. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN for the Champions League.
The